Belisario Betancourt, the president at the time, at Rodrigo Lato's funeral at the wake, announced that he would fully apply the extradition treaty.
But the mobsters went to Panama, where they were under the protection of General Noriega, who was in power.
I was living with my husband, and suddenly they told me, "You must leave the country now." I knew that a minister had died, a secretary of justice, which was a very complex situation. But why did I have to go? What was my situation? I was just 15 days away from giving birth to Manuela.
On May 6, 1984, the army entered for the first time Pablo Escobar's fortified compound, La Hacienda Nápoles en Dorredor.
What's up?
11 military trucks have entered Nápoles.
Okay,
And they've been ordered to stay.
fine. I can't wait to see how they cover the expenses for that.
On May 6, 1984, Pablo Escobar, Jorge Luis Ochoa, and Rodriguez Gacha tried to meet with former President Alfonso López Miguelsen, who was in Panama as an observer of the Panamanian elections.
The drug lords wanted to send the message that they had nothing to do with the assassination of the Secretary of Justice.
The drug lords admitted that they controlled 70 to 80% of cocaine production in Colombia and proposed the government an amnesty. The cartel offered the government of Belisario Betancourt to dismantle its laboratories, their withdrawal from the cocaine market, and to bring back their fortunes so they could help pay the foreign debt.
They were willing to turn themselves in. I told him that none of that could happen without the collaboration, acceptance, or acquiescence of the U.S. government and the DEA. And he agreed that it was necessary that the U.S. know of the existence of this arrangement.
How could you possibly, at that point, make peace with people who had just assassinated your justice minister? What kind of example would that have set for the country? It would have made anybody feel that they could get what they wanted.
We have to say that they were in talks with us looking for a possible arrangement, but all that fell apart because the Colombian intelligence agency and the gringos didn't accept.
Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions. They're killing our children. 37 federal agencies are working together in a vigorous national effort. And by next year, our spending for drug law enforcement will have more than tripled from its 1981 levels.
Betancourt's government rejected the offer and publicly refused any transaction with the drug lords.
There are incredible stories of 50 Colombian mobsters jogging in Lycra suits in the morning hours along the avenues of Panama with 50 Mercedes-Benz limousines escorting them. So at some point, this all becomes a crazy mess. The DEA was there, the CIA, and then Noriega asks them, "Please, no more jogging on the avenues of Panama. No more jogging. Get out." And Escobar goes to Nicaragua. He proposes to the Nicaraguans, to the Sandinistas, that they build a cocaine lab in Nicaragua. Escobar hears Ortega, who was the president of Nicaragua, and he interprets between the lines that Ortega was going to turn him in to the U.S. authorities. Escobar doesn't even finish listening to the interview with Ortega. He gets in a car, drives to the airport, and comes back to Colombia on his plane. When the Sandinistas come to capture him, he's gone.
The news is, and will continue to be for some time, the raid of the Palace of Justice.
Pablo Escobar helped finance the raid on the Palace of Justice. Why does he fund it? Because he wants to burn the files, all the cases against the extraditables, and to kill as many Supreme Court magistrates as possible so he wouldn't have to kill them on the streets.
The Ministry of Defense turned the tables by supplying a strong military presence.
The casualties include 12 magistrates, 1 administrative personnel, 6 police officers, and 1 member of the army.
For your children's sake, and yours, for Colombia, denounce drug dealers. Wanted, Pablo Escobar Gaviria. Cooperate, denounce, inform.
He started appearing in wanted signs as the head of the world's most powerful drug cartel. He became the most wanted criminal, but despite all the operations, intelligence actions, and hellish pursuits, it was always we nearly caught him.
How he knew, how he found out, is all a mystery. On many opportunities, there were operations against Escobar. We knew where he was, but at the last minute, he managed to get away.
Get together a group of 4 or 5 guys. We'll instruct them to call those phone numbers on the TV with misleading information. That way, we'll keep them really busy. Yesterday, we called and said we were at a certain hotel, and they tore it down. We'll drive them crazy.
At that time, Pablo Escobar was a friend of the Medellin police.
Hello, what's up?
Masa Marquez has sent 350 to 400 men to Medellin. They're ready for a large operation. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
Have the pilots let us know.
They'll tell us immediately. And they say they won't open fire.
But we will open fire.
Yes.
But don't shoot them. They'll look the other way.
Colonel Valdemar Franklin Quintero arrived in Medellin, an incorruptible man, an honest policeman.
I remember one time, returning from Nápoles. We were being chased. We were arrested. I was 7. My sister was still practically a newborn. They neglected to feed my baby sister. The police commander in charge was Valdemar Franklin Quintero. That event prompted a terrible rage from my father, who finally ordered his assassination. He would say, "Let them chase me. I'm the bandit. But don't touch my family. They're decent people who have nothing to do with what I do."
The boss orders us to target Colonel Quintero with a car bomb. We gave it to a kid to detonate it. The kid sees a Mercedes 230 coming, sees a police escort, arms the device and detonates the bomb. We hear the bomb from a distance and go check in with the boss. We say, "Hey boss, it's done. Colonel Quintero is dead." The boss tells us, "Watch the news. You just killed the governor of Antioquia, Antonio Roldan Betancourt." The governor was a friend of the boss. He was close to Escobar politically, and with good money, he could have become president. But the boss didn't lose his cool. At that point, nothing could be done. The governor was already dead, and Escobar was a man of war.
Pablo, at that time, thought of himself as the chief of all criminal organizations in Colombia.
We were friends and partners in the fight against extradition with the Rodriguez Oruela brothers. Pablo Escobar calls the Rodriguez Oruelas, as we had run errands for them here in Medellin.
Hey,
So what's new?
all good?
Tell me.
The black guy has been telling me for a while now that they want to push us out of there. Because we're supposedly invading the New York market. And they think they own the city. We'll see who turns out to be smarter and braver. That's what we're going to prove now.
Pablo tells him, "If you're not with me, you're my enemy. You have 24 hours to think it over and make a decision." And then he hangs up.
Violence in Colombia claimed more victims last night. The massacre occurred in a luxurious estate in Candelaria near Cali. 19 people were killed and 10 more injured.
That was the beginning of the fight between the Cali and Medellin cartels.
We no longer fought one enemy, but 2. The state and another cartel. Anyone from Cali who came here had to die. Anyone from Medellin who went there would get killed.
The leaders of the Cali cartel said they wouldn't accept such threats. And within 24 hours, they hired people to plant a bomb aimed at Escobar in his residence, the Monaco building.
The first car bomb in the history of Colombia exploded on January 13th, 1988, in the Monaco building in Medellin. My little sister, she was born in 1984. She was 4. I was born in 1977. I was 11. 700 kilograms of dynamite, which shattered glass 1 kilometer around the building. An explosion to erase us from the map. It's a miracle that we're still here talking.
The bombers were supposed to knock down the building's garage door and plant the bomb inside the garage in the hopes that it would knock down the building completely.
After that moment, my dad, any excuses he might have needed to use violence, he had. A single attack with a bomb on his family unleashed over 200 terrorist attacks.
The violence was mainly carried out by the Medellin cartel under the title of the Extraditables, a group of drug traffickers financed by all the cartels. They generated corruption within the state and terrorism.
It is unfair for people who commit a crime in the country to be judged in another one and sentenced for crimes that don't exist in Colombia.
The only thing they feared was being extradited.
Brother, we've decided that every peso we get will be used to burn rich people's houses, to eliminate politicians, as well as the military and police forces who mess with us, the judges that bother us, the journalists.
And he turns up protesting, saying we are the Extraditables, and we denounce the society for excluding us, for persecuting us, for treating us in unjust ways, for stigmatizing us, for not accepting our children in schools. It's not only an issue of police and judicial persecution, but they protest not having a place in society, being as rich as they are.
These motherfuckers chase us because we're alleged delinquents. They think that because I've been calm, I have no resources to fight. Those sons of bitches are confusing nobleness with weakness. I'll show those sons of bitches as soon as I wage a full-blown war.
Escobar was a very violent person, and as he became more powerful, he thought that he could defy the state.
This infamous character accomplished what no one had been able to do, to utterly soak the business of drug trafficking in so much blood that he turned it into narco-terrorism.
Escobar was killing judges, he was killing magistrates, journalists, policemen.
They turned it into a business of death and vengeance, of abuse and exploitation of power.
In the killing of State Attorney Carlos Hoyos, Escobar is singled out as the mastermind. He was never subpoenaed, even though they found a recording where he supposedly orders the murder of Hoyos. Specialized Judge Oscar Hernandez didn't consider the evidence.
The boss asked me to inform him why we were killing him right before his execution. I told him, Dr. Hoyos, we're going to kill you for betraying your country. He says, who the hell did I betray? I said, you betrayed yourself by receiving money from the DEA and from the mafia.
Y por autorizar las extradiciones de colombianos a los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica. Inmediatamente lo ejecutamos.
Anyone who got in his way, if they didn't take the money, well, they would get bullets, and they would get killed. anyone who got in his way, if they didn't take the money, well, they would get bullets.
The only enemies are those that use terror and violence to silence the people of Colombia, to intimidate or assassinate its most important protagonists.
Luis Carlos Galan earns great visibility because he stands against Pablo Escobar and the drug traffickers, and he favors extradition.
The dark and criminal power of drug trafficking has reached our country. And since 1982, a year before Rodrigo Lara took office as Secretary of Justice, the New Liberal Party has been the only political force in Colombia to stand up to this terrible adversary of society, of institutional order.
Back then, politics was a public plaza activity, out in the streets, with the excitement of the people, of campaigning. People would stand in the plazas for 5, 6, 7 hours.
If we keep killing politicians and burning their houses and waging war, they'll have no other choice. They'll beg us for peace talks. This way we settle with everyone and solve all of our problems. I see no other solution but to fight and put our hearts into this. If we're all going to die, we all die.
I wanted to talk at the funeral. I wrote my speech. At the end, I changed the final sentence, which was, always forward, not a step back, and whatever needs to be done will do. Which was the phrase that... I want to ask Cesar Gaviria, in whose hands we entrust my father's flags, to be the president Colombia wants and needs. Please save Colombia.
Always forward, not a step back. And whatever needs to be done, we'll do.
We faced a very difficult campaign because it was so dangerous, so threatening. We had to campaign in the middle of terrorist attacks.
The campaign was horrible. For starters, whoever replaced Galan, if he kept the position against drug trafficking, and Gaviria did keep it, became Escobar's main enemy, and an enemy of the extraditables.
There's a national order from the extraditables. To anyone allied with Cesar Gaviria, the order is to fill them with bullets. Those who stand with Gaviria stand next to a dead man.
They blew up an Avianca plane targeting the campaign staff. We were scheduled on a trip to Cali, but they canceled a few of the morning events there, so the tour manager decided to change to a later flight. Escobar blew up that 7 a.m. flight.
We were talking about the plane. He said the plane was paid for. I have the money order for the payment. I'll deliver it. He'll have it in a half an hour.
The bomb was already on board. It had to go off. The Medellin cartel didn't mind blowing up an airplane. It was terrorism. We were trying to corner the Republic of Colombia. The bombing of the DAS security agency was the largest terrorist strike in the world. The bus didn't get inside the DAS. If it had, it would have wiped it off the planet.
A bus with a bomb on board entered this street at 7:15. 3 men came out of it. This is what was left 3 minutes later.
Around 1989 was one of the most grueling times for the nation of Colombia, and the most beneficial for the mafia.
We basically lived in a permanent state of crisis. Public order was a huge problem.
It was a horrible way to live. I mean, there were days that there were 5 or 6 bombs going off in different parts, and there were people walking on the street to get killed.
Today at 6:30 a.m., a car loaded with dynamite blew up in front of the El Espectador newspaper building. El Espectador newspaper has become